Sophie Zion, known professionally by her first name Sophie, was a visionary artist and producer, pushing the boundaries of what people thought pop and electronic music was at the time, going on to be one of the main pioneers of the hyperpop genre and played an integral part in working with Charli XCX. Sophie sadly passed away via a tragic accident in January of 2021, and on that day music truly lost a force, an icon and a visionary. Despite this, her legacy lives on through her peers and collaborators' music, her family and truly through her fans. I'm going to discuss how she changed the music scene and her posthumous album that concluded her legacy in a really beautiful way. In 2013, she released her first single, Nothing More to Say, which was relatively bubblegum sounding bright pop, with a bit of edge in the chord progressions being more out there, but definitely less industrial sounding than what went on to be her iconic sound and the one she became famous for and we became familiar with. Bip was her second single and the first time I heard music from Sophie personally. This was a step up in her production, sounding similar in some ways to her work in the band Motherland, but honing much more industrial, grimy sounds and a high-pitched vocal line. She started working with Charli XCX in 2015, a long-time genre-defying partnership that still lives on despite her passing. 2015 signalled a key moment in both Sophie's career trajectory and Charli's music as well. Sophie's music started to sound much more experimental and hard. The pair worked on the Vroom Vroom EP, which was released in 2016, a complete flip from Charli's more pop-prevalent sounds. There was screeching synths, bass-heavy reverb drums, and more nonsensical lyrics than that on pop songs Charli had produced, such as Boom Clap, for example. Another key collaborator for Sophie was American rapper and singer Vince Staples. Two songs that Sophie played an integral part on were Say-Mo and Yeah Right. Yeah Right has that pulsating drum rhythm in the background, and Say-Mo holds crunchy synth noises that remind me of Sophie's song Hard. Between 2013 and 2017, Sophie was anonymous, letting the music do the speaking on her behalf, which was a powerful sentiment for someone playing so many key roles in the music industry at that time. However, in 2017, she released the song It's Okay to Cry from her album Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides, which is the first music video she was publicly in as herself. When Sophie came out from being anonymous, she also in turn came out to the public as trans, saying how this ultimately became a reclamation of her identity. Her debut album, Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides, is an album that really switches up the genre and vibe on every single song, but Sophie, as always, makes it sound cohesive. She was always known to push the boundaries of conventional music in such a brilliant way. She became known as the godmother and leading pioneer of hyperpop. As I said earlier, sadly, in January of 2021, she did pass away, and that day, the underground music industry really changed. We lost a visionary and someone who was bound to go on to change the scope of music further. However, her legacy lives on through people like A.G. Cook, another pioneer of the hyperpop genre and a huge collaborator with Charli XCX. Indie rock icon St. Vincent has spoken about Sophie inspiring her music and mentions her by name on the song Sweetest Fruit. Caroline Polachek again was hugely inspired by Sophie and carries on her legacy of pushing music beyond conventional boxes in her work. And lastly, obviously through Charli XCX, who has made hyperpop what it is in recent years. She deals with her grief on the gut-wrenching slower tempo song from Brat, So I, but also you can hear the influence all throughout Charli's work. Charli took a more club-inspired lane in hyperpop, but Charli's sound is hugely influenced by her friendship and collaboration with Sophie. And I can't help but wonder if the pair may have reconnected in more recent years, what Charli's 365 Party Girl sound would have sounded like with Sophie's production mixed into it. Sophie's last release was her posthumous album released in 2024, which was 90% completed before her passing, being completed in full by her trusted associates and collaborators and her brother Benny Long. The album has a mix of everything really, from slower, tender tracks about the fragility of life to deep bass rap songs. It showed that Sophie really did have a lot more to show us. Her voice is absent, instead focusing on her traditional production sounds, and again, like when Sophie was anonymous, letting her music speak for herself. A beautiful sentiment to conclude her beautiful career. The opening track, Horror, reminds me of the fact that this is Sophie's last piece of work. A musical hero was truly lost when she passed. The song is intentional with its ethereal sounds, and in a way honestly sounds like it could have been from a horror movie soundtrack. Raw featuring Jazzy shows the possibility of Sophie's musicality in the rap genre, which we didn't hear much of when she was alive. Deep bass and glitchy drum beats are the key elements of this track. An earworm of a chorus comes in, but the song is truly elevated by Sophie's production work. Dissonant notes occasionally appear, perhaps signifying how detached from reality and how strange life can truly be at times. Plunging Asymptote was originally released back in 2018, but the conclusion on this tracklist does make sense. The spoken word lyrics become a grounding rod on the song, while she creates this spacey, dark, otherworldly soundscape. The texture created makes you feel uneasy at times listening, again showing how Sophie wasn't necessarily afraid to push her audience even more. The dome's protection touches on algorithmic data, robotic entities, and questioning human existence. Sophie has always thought outside just the human everyday existence, and for this reason this easily becomes my favourite track on the last album from Sophie. Seeing Sophie and Kravis create this sonical layer of otherworldly protection through deep cinematic swooping bass, this song actually reminds me of an art piece I saw years and years ago by Rachel McLean called What You Smiling About, which really stuck with me and was a think piece on society, the rise of social media, algorithms and AI, while the real world seems to be terrible outside of that bubble. Reason Why with Kim Petras is next, a bit of a random addition at this point in this track list. It's a hypnotic synth track. Kim obviously stands out on this song, and the glitchy nature of the final form of the chorus is traditional Sophie. Kim is another artist whose Sophie's legacy lives on through, especially with Kim dedicating her Grammy win to Sophie. Do You Want to Be Alive is the next track I want to touch on here. It's a more techno Berlin inspired sound, lyrically showing an in-your-face side. However, the production specifically in the chorus signals a transformation into the person you truly want to be in your life. It's moving and transcendental, moving faster and faster as the song goes on. Elegance featuring Popstar is dynamic. The voices and changes in articulation and delivery really dominate. Again, the song gets faster and faster, with it eventually resolving into a synthy pop sounding song at the end. It truly takes you on a journey and is almost an amalgamation of all Sophie's work in her career, the sounds and takes she has collected over the years. Berlin Nightmare again is more industrial, techno, Berlin sounding, hence the name. It does make me think of Charlie's Brat album, not in the way it sounds, but perhaps in how Sophie may have approached the project with Charlie. It's a dance track for the ages. The last two songs are My Forever and Love Me Off Earth. My Forever captures the yearning, emotive quality that has been more prominent in Sophie's work. The instrumental almost fuses with Cecil's vocals to really capture someone forever. The chorus in the content of Sophie's passing is emotive to any fan. This is probably one of the more accessible pop sounding songs on this track list and of Sophie's discography. The conclusion song is the beautiful Love Me Off Earth, an amazing closing track to this track list. Again, the lyrics in context to Sophie's passing is another emotive sounding song. To me, it really reads as Sophie's last message to us. The instrumentals really hit you as well, with the vocals taking a while to come in. It allows you to sit with your emotions and grief and remember Sophie truly for all her greatness. I was unsure originally when this album was released my true feelings on it, but a few years on I can really see how it was a perfect way to round up Sophie's career and music in a moving, emotive but remarkable way. While it does break my heart that there will be no new releases ever from Sophie, we won't get to see her thoughts portrayed in music anymore, and she isn't here as a shining light in the artistic industries. Her music will always bring me a comfort, and what an honour it was to be able to live at the same time and experience her musicality unfold in real time. Sophie's music was special not only because it pushed the boundaries of what pop and music can be, her music could also articulate the human experience, how trippy life can be, emotions and feelings of self-discovery and innovation, not necessarily always through lyrics, but through the innovative sounds she created. Her artistry and legacy lives on in her peers, friends and fans. She truly was one of our generation's most incredible artists, and she changed music piece by piece and truly created hyperpop to be what we know of it today. Maybe Sophie is now just a passenger of a different time dimension, like Kravis says on the dome protection, but what a beautiful person and artist she was.